Oh, wow! Wow!
Yeah.
Did you see that? Ah! Okay, yes, I'm excited.
Greetings, I am Tyranth.
You know who I am.
Yeah. Today we're going to be taking a look at, I don't know, some random thing, you know.
Yeah, no one knows what this is.
Nah. This is Berserk's Dragon Slayer sword.
There's some caveats that needs to be mentioned.
Yes.
Of course, it's not the same size as the Dragon Slayer. It is more similar to his earlier sword, not the full-blown Dragon Slayer.
It's the full-blown dragons. Okay, hold on. This is Google, so I don't know. But Google says this is bigger.
But it's not as wide or as thick, is what I'm saying.
The thickness is close. Like the width, sorry.
The width?
Yeah, the width. It's not exact.
Sure.
Usually what it is it has a strong profile taper. It's thicker down here, but it has a stronger profile taper. This one is a little bit more homogeneous and just easier to make.
There is another interesting thing about this sword.
What?
Or what it's made out of.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So this is made out of aluminum.
Aluminum!
And the reason why was to prove a point to Shad, and because it was easy for me to make.
And to prove a point to me. Tyranth loves proving.
I do, yes.
Okay, hang on. My stance is that aluminum will not make a good sword blade because it can't hold an edge and it's too weak. I think that's correct.
That is fair for a regular sword. But even then there's caveats in that, because there's aluminum swords used in stage fighting and stuff like that.
But I'm talking
Usually
about for a
safety
functional
purposes.
sword.
For a functional sword, yeah, it can't really be heat treated the same way as steel. It can't really hold an edge. But the caveat to that is, for the application of a giant sword,
Make it thicker?
it's not too bad. And this was the caveat that I explained to you back when we did the Titan sword project, way back when we were discussing building it.
Yeah.
And I said to you, we can do it out of aluminum, and you're like, no, it's just not good enough. No, we've got to do carbon fiber. We've got to do.
I'm still not sold on the Titan sword for it.
So in this particular application, it's been pretty good in my experience. There's a couple of caveats here that I want to mention up front because they are detriments that I plan to fix in the future, but I don't want to bring them up as if like we're discovering them for the first time. First one is I made a mistake with the handle. This is a square handle, which
Sucks.
Yes, but it sucks because it's not proportional, because this blade is so ridiculous. This just turns into a round handle, essentially. So edge alignment's a little bit of a tricky one with this, and that's something that I plan to fix in the version 2. Second of all, this has just a little bit too much weight. But in saying that, this is still very light for what it is.
Oh, the fact that I can even do this is metal, full size. The fact that I can hold it like this is like, okay, yeah, that's insanely light for its size.
Yeah, so in the version 2, I'm going to be putting steel
on the edge.
all around the edges.
Hell yeah, that's intriguing.
And I'm also going to be giving it a profile tape.
That's what we're trying to do with the carbon fiber sword.
Yeah.
Steel edge.
Yeah. I'm going to kind of do a little bit more of a chisel edge, just machine in a slot so I can put in the steel. I'm also going to give it a profile taper now, because I did this to be easy, essentially. I think, from what I've seen, a little bit of a profile taper on this, it'll still be strong enough.
So I have seen a number of people make kind of Dragon Slayer-ish kind of swords. They're all very thin. None of them are accurate one-to-one things, but they are made out of steel, and the guys trying to swing them can barely lift those things.
And it's not a dig at them. I want to make sure it's not trying to be.
I kind of like the ones that are like 50 days training with this sword, see how tough I can get.
I genuinely respect it. It's just, it's not practical.
Yeah, and they can
at all.
What I've seen from the guys training with, steel Dragon Slayer swords, they kind of reach like a barrier, a limit that once it doesn't matter how much stronger you can get, the human body.
It's a physics problem.
Exactly, can't get past it to swing it around more functionally. This might have better chances of being functional because it's lighter.
And so we will show you how fast we can swing it today. But with the caveat that I'm going to try and modify this to make this actually, because I think this is the best that I've seen in terms of speed, which is really important, but I think it can be better. That's the caveat.
Because how heavy is it? Just because this is still big. Like, look at this.
So this is around 200 centimeters, so 2 meters long, and it weighs around 6 to 7 kilos. But the caveat to that, like, that's not heavy. You got to remember, that's not
No. People don't understand what torque is if they think it's not heavy.
Well, a weapon that is 6 to 7 kilos is a heavy weapon, but that's not impossible, is what I'm saying.
Thing is, when you swing that weight around, that's on a lever that's further away from the point of angle, right? Or the leverage point, okay? The weight that ends up, but anyway, the weight you feel pulling on you as you swing that around jumps up. It's not like only 6 kilos. And when I hold it like this, the end weight on this is greater than 6 kilos on my hand, okay? Because of torque.
Yeah, it's further away from your center of mass, so it's harder.
Yeah.
So a lot of people...
Holding it like this, that's...
Light as.
Holding it like this, okay, you know? Oh.
So that's the important context there, because I feel like a lot of people don't understand that, and it always frustrates me so. So first thing I wanted to cover is size.
That's the interesting thing, because this is not outside of the realms of size of swords that have been used functionally in the world.
Yes, it's actually, this is 2 meters tall. Now, we may look a little small to it, we're on a hill right now. So we're actually not this short, we're on a hill.
What are you talking about? It's so big. Yeah, like
it's just a little bit.
Some of the largest great swords are about this size. There's historical, you know, versions you can see in museums. This is not a bearing sword, which is like, you know.
Biggest difference is the width of the blade.
A width, right here.
Now, when we compare that to the Titan sword.
See, the Titan sword is made to be a proper giant sword.
Yes, and I don't like that.
It's functional.
I think this is reasonable. I think this in length, because you get to the point where it's actually hard to spin it around.
Look, obviously there's a reason why historical swords, functional combat historical swords, didn't really get bigger than this size here. Yet we did test out full-length giant swords in combat, and the massive advantage you were getting out of it was reach. The reach and leverage that you were getting was a game changer.
Yeah. When it comes to the actual practicality of a giant sword, I mean, that's a whole...
We've explored it. There's videos.
A whole can of worms.
So what we're primarily focusing on this video is, can this version of the Dragon Slayer sword be a functional combat weapon, okay? And so we're testing it in armor. We're going to test it against a couple of other weapons. We're going to test its movement and stuff. Now, Tyranth, you made this on your channel, screen tested, and so Tyranth is kind of, you show you how you make it for one.
Yeah, I'll show you how I make it, and I've already gone through a bunch of like what I would call basic stuff, because I don't want to start this video. I want to start this video with, let's do the stuff I didn't do. Which one of those things is leverage and like cross guards? That's something that I really want to show, because I think a lot of people don't get it. But I've gone through the basic stuff.
And this video is kind of the deep dive now as, could this work as a combat sword?
Yeah.
And in terms of length, yes, this is actually the more reasonable upper end, the most upper end of great swords.
Something I did want to address very quickly was a lot of people thought putting a pommel on this would be a good idea. And this is something that
I would assume it would be.
All right. So what does a pommel do? It's counterweight to a sword, so it can actually make the tip or down on the blade feel a little bit lighter in the hand. Feel is the context there. This is already...
Yes, so one of the issues is, because this is 6 kilos, the amount of weight that you would need in a pommel to actually function as a proportional counterweight to something this heavy, you would have to up the weight to nearly 7-8 kilos overall.
Yeah. So let's just say this weighs like 7 kilos, you need like a 3 kilo pommel. Dude, that makes it a 10 kilo sword.
Oh,
so yes, the tip would probably feel a little bit more nimble.
But now you're weighing, like, that's an interesting point to consider.
I would want to bring it up because on the surface, some people might assume that it makes sense.
Yeah.
You would think it does, but in practicality, it's like...
If, and I know we've already addressed this, we can't really remove weight in the middle, but if you could remove weight from the middle and then put it on the pommel, that would kind of solve it.
That's kind of why the balance that I've come to is a strong profile taper on this is probably my best bet to reduce weight.
It's also why the Titan sword design works so well, because that's kind of what we did. We were able to put a chunkier pommel, which adds more of a counterweight effect.
Yeah. All right, let's get into some leverage with this thing with cross guards.
Oh, I'm really interested in that.
Yeah. Did you want to swing it or did you want to catch it?
I will catch it.
Are you sure?
No,
I won't swing it hard.
I'm not sure at all, Tyranth, but that thing's heavy. And I'm tired.
So don't fear the spear is essentially what I'm getting at. Well, because if you imagine, what's the most dangerous part about this sword? It's this here.
Yes.
If you catch this blade in the crossguard up here near the leverage point, I'm probably not going to be able to do much. First off, it's going to be too heavy. You're going to be quicker than me. And on top of that, once you kill the momentum on this thing, I'm basically screwed.
Yeah.
That's
redirecting and ramping up speed from a static position is going to be a dog with that.
So I'll swing this at you. I'm not going to try and hit him.
First, let's actually just clash the swords to see if I can block the thing.
Sure.
Here at Shadowversity, we have had to shift our publicly released content quite dramatically because sword content, which is just videos about swords, are pretty much dead here on YouTube. The algorithm is not sharing them to our subscribers, the people who said they want to see it. And over the past 2 months, the standard sword content that built this channel is dead on arrival. Not because our audience and supporters don't want to see it, they do. YouTube does not push it at all. YouTube and the algorithm hates that type of content now and will not promote it to not only the people that love it, definitely not to new audiences. That leaves us in a difficult position. Making the classic Shadowversity content that built this channel is not financially viable anymore. Releasing those videos publicly does not offset the time and money we have to invest in making them, which is just a recipe to go bankrupt. So our public videos are now focused on catching the algorithm, yet there's still a passionate niche community that wants that classic content. And so to be able to keep giving those viewers that want that content in a sustainable way, we have to make that content now exclusive. And we are releasing full-length, high-production Shadowversity videos each week for our supporters. And as little as $1 a month, that's all it takes, that's just $1 a month, you will get access to it all. The exclusive full-length Shadowversity video that we have already released this week is a great in-depth test where we debunk just how great tatami mats are at cutting compared to pool noodles. And the way that we do that in this video, instead of trying to cut through them with super sharp swords that are kind of like a cheat code, we try and cut through them with blunt swords, where if there is any chance to get through these mediums, it is purely based on the technique of the swing. And the results and feedback we got when comparing pool noodles to tatami mats was actually shocking. It is super intriguing stuff, full-blown sword content, the stuff that we love here, but that it is now just unfeasible to release publicly because the YouTube algorithm will just bury it. And you can watch this video as well as all the exclusive full-length videos that we will be making and producing into the future for as little as $1 a month. That's all it takes. The total only $12 for the entire year. It is super easy to do, and this is the only way we'll be able to keep making this content in a sustainable way going forward. So if you'd like to watch this video and the ones we make in the future and help support the channel so we can break free of being locked in and so reliant on ad revenue, enabling us to upload our content more regularly on multiple platforms where we don't need to rely on AdSense at all, this is the model which will enable us to do that with your support. And with that support, that ensures us and grants us the ability to keep making and bringing you the content that you want. Subscribestar is the best platform to do it, but you can also do that through Patreon or channel memberships. Minimum on YouTube channel memberships is like $4 to $5 or something like that. But that's our model going forward. We can still make the classic Shadowversity dedicated sword content that our audience loves. You will also get to request the types of exclusive content we will make now in a sustainable way, thanks to our supporters. And if you want to check out that great video, and there's going to be so much content, weekly content, which is dedicated sword nerdy stuff, full-length, high production, as little as $1 a month, and of course, you're free to donate more if you like. Thank you for everyone who's supporting. The video will be out very soon, if not out already. Go check it out. And now back to the video. We're going to test it out with this interesting sword right here. There is a bit of damage on it because we've already reviewed and tested this. The review's coming out, I think. I don't think it's out.
Yeah, no,
yeah,
not out.
It's not out yet.
Not out.
But this is a really weird,
you guys will love this one. You guys will actually love this one.
Crazy, this thing. And so
this is what you're going to be using to block this.
Yes.
Now, what is your plan here? I can tell you what my plan would be. What's yours?
First, I just want to feel the leverage in a single sword clash.
Okay, yep.
and then probably test out different points on the blade to see where, and then we can move to crossguard.
Okay, all right, let's do it like that.
Here's the first thing that's going to give Tyranth a crazy advantage, right? In regular sword distance, this is where you think you're safe, but Tyranth, smack.
All right.
The distance and measure is completely different with this sword.
Sure, but keep in mind, with a sword like this, I can't hold any static positions.
This is
So in actual use, if we were fighting, I would have to be swinging this around, keeping the momentum going. So that's what makes this a little bit tricky for me as well. Because if I don't hit you, for example, if I swing a blade around, and then you come back.
That torque.
It's crazy.
All right, so get at a bit of distance because I do not want to accidentally hit you, and come in slowly to begin with.
Where do you want it?
Come in right here.
Okay. All right.
Slow to begin with. Let me just feel the weight. All right. That one I felt I could stop. I could feel it though. A little harder. Interesting. Yep, that's good. Did that stop you?
No, I stopped it.
You stopped. All right, try and push through. Oh, wow! Wow!
Yeah.
Did you see that? That was just my sword flexed out of the way.
Yeah. So we should mention very quickly what the strong and the weak of a blade is. So here on a blade is where you're strong. That's where you have a lot of leverage. Up here is the weak of the blade. You're hitting my blade up near your weak, which is there is no way you're going to hold a giant sword.
The way that weight and momentum blasted through my guard, I would have no confidence stopping that sword from anything from the middle up on my blade.
Yes. So this is why when we say, how would you stop a giant sword, most likely get your crossguard down in my strong, not because I have this is where the leverage works against you, because it's so heavy. When I'm down in my, now I don't have leverage just because of the weight of it. It kind of reverses itself.
Let's try and do that.
All right, where do you want me to go?
So we're going to come in low. We're going to try and catch it. Ready?
After the initial strike, if I'm not really trying to get you, I don't have anything to go against.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, thing is though, even with you going, that was barely 10%, right? I could feel the impact and power, like that hit my wrist.
Yeah.
If you did like 100% swing, even if I managed to block it, I think that could almost break my wrists. Like that is a lot of impact you're trying to stop, even closer on your strong with the crossguard.
Okay, the next caveat to that is where in the swing you're catching it.
Yeah.
You are catching it near its apex, which is not good.
Yes.
If, for example, so when you do it, bring it over this way. So if you catch me like that,
yes,
I'm screwed.
Yeah, because then
I've got nothing.
Because like literally a reverse cut, anything, you can't recover from that.
No, you
not
can't.
fast enough.
So there's caveats to it, and that's why I say giant swords in their current weight is just simply not practical at all. I know there's people out there who think that there's a use for them, but even this weight,
there's advantages, but I think the detriments, like the almost Achilles heel effect from this is the follow-up.
Yeah.
As soon as your first attack is stopped, you have no speed to recover. And a fast sword, if they can stop it, they can just quickly hit any number of because this is such a fast, nimble sword, you would overwhelm them.
But the issue that I see with the giant sword in general is even if I just keep the momentum going, that's still too slow. I think you could close that distance.
That's interesting.
In between those,
we might
those
try some experience with that. But one thing I want to show is another weakness of this. Having closed the distance, how could you attack me?
I've got nothing.
Like if you put a guard up, right, and I manage to get in close like this, what are you going to...
I've got nothing.
You got nothing. And there's a number of things, I could even disengage, and this is not a threat. It's not moving fast enough.
Because that is a huge limitation, is the follow-up. And this is why the speed is such an important factor. And I'm glad that we did that because I did want to show to some people this part here. You do not want to be near a giant sword on this, just period. If you're here though, you're probably going to be all right.
Survive.
I think the trick to it is you just have to go. No hesitation.
If you're fighting a giant sword, the best way is to close the distance, get inside. Now, this is interesting because I think one of the best uses for a giant sword, this would be so damn exhausting, Montante, swinging around, area of effect.
We'll do some later.
Holy crap.
Because it's exhausting.
That's going to kill us,
Yeah.
man. Because that is, then, like, if you can maintain, I guess, the threat, because the problem is how open you are on the backswing, and if it takes too long to bring it back forward.
Yep.
Because if it takes too long, someone could then close. But it's also a spinning blade of death with crazy momentum and leverage in, that if I tried to block, it's blasting through my sword.
Something I would also want to mention is I don't think you would ever do any straight down chops with a giant sword. I cannot think of any kind of examples because it puts you at such a disadvantage.
If you miss, and I reckon those ones you could deflect easier because I don't need to stop it. I just need to push it aside.
Parry the blade and
he's done.
Screwed.
Look at that. Like that is interesting because again, coming down.
But that's one move.
One move.
I don't have any other move.
Wow, that's one of the most popular giant sword attacks.
Yeah.
In video games, everything, overhead swings.
Yeah, and that's why I think Montante is the best one-to-one with giant swords, keeping that momentum going, kind of offending a large area, but at the same time, because it's not as light as something like a big greatsword, once the momentum's gone, you're screwed.
I actually wasn't expecting that you were wanting to do this test, but I guess this will give us some really intriguing feedback, especially about its overall structure. Because this is partially to test, like, can aluminium really hold together under this abuse?
This is more of a... I know the answer. This is more of proving a point, Shad, this little next bit. That's all this is.
Again, Tyranth loving proving me wrong.
Yeah. So just do regular straight down chops into the wood.
You're saying you don't want me to break it, Tyranth?
No, I don't want you to break it.
You know, I would have liked the Taitsuki to not have broken either time.
Well, you know, maybe they should have made it different.
You purposely came in wanting to destroy it.
No, I did not.
You took glee in it. Oh, wow. Just that. Just that.
All right, what I'll do is
Dude, you don't want me to... This thing... This wants to roll, man.
That's why I've said...
This is going to be a friggin'...
That's why the handle is a problem.
This is going to be a dog. It's like, don't let it roll where it'll probably bend. Holy... Like, the edge alignment is going to need to be perfect for this not to roll.
That's why I said, get it right.
If that's not easy with a sword like this. Bloody hell. Oh! Holy crap. Ready? Ah! Dude.
Yeah.
That was solid. That held together.
Yeah.
So much so that the thing's almost falling off. I think I bent the door it's resting on.
Yeah.
And just the fact that I can pick it up like this is it like, I've seen the guys that have steel versions of this, they can barely lift it.
Yeah.
All right, here's an interesting thing. I reckon this aluminum version is a superior weapon than the steel ones of the same size.
Yes.
The fact that we can move it around faster.
Yes.
And I think it'll be just as devastating and overpowering than the steel one would be.
Like, I don't want to, this isn't trying to be mean to the people who have made the steel ones. I love it. I think it's awesome content, but it's not practical. What we're trying to do, or what I'm trying to do, is make something that could just plausibly be used in a combat scenario.
That still is the right size for it to be identified as giant dragon slayer.
Yeah.
And by the way, magical materials that are lighter exist in fantasy.
Yeah. So
this would be considered a magical material.
That's why I went with this, and so far I've been proven correct, which is a good feeling. I like that feeling.
It's because it's so big and thick.
That's what she said.
Oh, do you see how much that bounces, man?
Yeah. When I was designing it, I was worried about the structural integrity of the handle.
Yeah.
But when you hit it with it, It's solid.
It's solid as a rock. There was no vibration in the handle.
This was the same method that I did with the carbon fiber to fix. Remember when I fixed it?
Yep.
Same method. I think for composite type weapons, I like this handle construction.
It works. Sorry, the way the beam bounces on that is, yeah. And that looked what, 40%?
That was nothing. That was just a little bit of giving it a little bit, let the weight do the rest, and you're good to go.
Yeah. Oh, that wanted to roll.
Yeah.
Did you bend it?
No.
Okay.
This can handle some crazy flex.
Yeah, because I saw the flex then.
Yeah, but edge alignment is...
That looked rough, yeah.
So what do you think of aluminum?
Look, this has impressed me. For what it is, I still don't think it would work on a regular sword or even the Titan sword necessarily, but because you have so much mass holding it together, it's doing the job.
And that mass is still within operational range. Like you can move it around.
Like the fact that it could survive those types of impacts was actually impressive.
Yeah.
And that it flexed and still remain true. That means if you do put a steel edge on this, you have a 100% functional, edge sharp, everything giant sword.
The caveat to that is just adding that profile taper, I think will get that weight just within a really good range.
When I say functional, seems like as functional as you could get. I still think this is not better than a traditional medieval montante, Zweihanda that is this big, that has thin blades to be much faster, and that solves nearly all the problems that we were discovering in terms of speed and recovery.
Yeah, the width and mass, the biggest benefit that I can see personally is you don't really have to worry about damaging your edge. You get a little bit more mass, but I don't think the mass is worth the trade-off of being slower.
That's the caveat, I agree. But even though it is a huge benefit, that mass and leverage is indomitable. You can't block it if you're not ready for it or the right position.
But I don't think that's worth it in the case
Neither do
where
I.
somebody's just quicker than you will kill you. So.
Well, let's see how fast you could be, because the only way you could then function it is by keeping that momentum going.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Let's do it.
I'm getting flashbacks. Oh, this is so not good.
So I've taken off my pauldrons because the only way to really make this work is that your arms need to be elevated, especially for the swinging around, and pauldrons are going to get in the way of that, which is why Tyranth is leaving them on.
Yes, I've already done it in with like as loose as possible, so now I'm trying to be as constricted as possible and see how much dexterity I still have in my body.
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck. Don't hit the castle this time, yeah?
I'll try. You know the thing they see in video games? Video games. Oh, I just damaged my castle. So, all right, slowly. There's one thing I want to test, because a downward strike, right? The recovery is going to suck. So what about a downward strike that you could then recover from and keep the momentum? So what that means is a reverse edge downward strike, which goes down like that. Oh, dude. Oh.
Also,
I can do it, but
I'm not going to judge edge alignment at all.
Yeah.
Don't worry, like the edge alignment on this is very difficult when you start.
All right, interesting. I was just going softly through the motions. There was remarkable strain on my rotator cuffs in my shoulders. My actual bones are feeling the strain on that. Yeah. I am not going to risk doing that any faster, because the amount of...
Yeah.
I've actually injured my shoulder before like that. Like when I feel strain on my rotator cuffs, that's like easing off. But that motion is possible. It was rough, but that means downward strikes is somewhat feasible if you keep the momentum going. You can then recover a bit.
Yeah.
All right. So in terms of wide swings, where okay, no. This is good. This is good. All right, so that was actually far more comfortable than the ones I was just trying to do, because I'm elevating everything there. Yeah. Where that is, a lot of the weight is just being taken up in the momentum.
It is.
Yeah, and so if you were doing this, right, someone would have to have balls to try and close when you're just there going, why, you gonna fight me? It is a bit slow though. It is a bit slow.
Yeah. And what we're saying is it's still dangerous and still terrifying to try and close that distance, but I think it's just slow enough right now that you could take advantage of it.
Yeah. It's funny because at first I was like, this is power, right? But then I was like, slow down, have a feel of how fast you're going.
Yeah.
That wasn't fast.
No.
Thrust down. Oh, dude, that is possible.
It's possible, yeah.
But, all right, I reckon the guys that train with the heavier ones, they could probably swing this around like a badass. I don't know, they've built like, one of the concerns I'm feeling, my shoulders have not built the muscle to withstand the strain if I go harder. I would injure myself if I push myself. But like with shooting heavy longbow, when you build up specific movements slowly in uncomfortable or muscle groups that don't usually get that workout, they build up to the point where they can handle the strain fine.
Did you want to do any more?
Nah, I'm done.
All right.
Whew.
You can get around, no worries, but edge alignment, yeah.
Yeah.
You see, it's too much here.
Edge alignment is rough, and I'm watching you swing around, and I would actually feel confident. Once that passes on the backswing, I would run in and just catch, and I could close it before that comes back.
Yeah. In terms of...
Isn't that rough?
With pauldrons, holy... The reason why I'm doing this is because Guts wears armor.
Yeah, he does.
He wears a lot of armor. And that's why I wanted to try it specifically with armor. In terms of getting around like a wide area, right? I don't think that's too terrible.
That's not bad. That's the speed that's the killer.
Yeah. We've talked a lot about swings, but you can still thrust with this.
Yeah, surprising.
Yeah, so it's quick with thrusts because the leverage is different. In terms of actual, these pauldrons, man, I have no movement here, especially if I want to do swings to transition around. Like,
dude, that looks painful. The thing about pauldrons, right? They restrict upper arm movement. Now, you can get away with it with lighter swords easier, and with a lot of swords movements, have a look how high this elevation of my arm, see, they're not going too much higher. And with a lot of, attacks where you're striking and you're going around, my arms don't need to elevate so high. Because that sword is so long, to avoid the blade hitting the ground, you have to then suddenly be up here instead of down here. Like I can do a reverse edge cut, and my arms don't need to move that much, right? If this was a giant sword, I'd have to be like here, and the pauldrons then really get in the way.
I'll cut in a clip of when I was swinging this around without my pauldrons, so you can see the difference between pauldrons and no pauldrons.
Yeah. So pauldrons with regular swords in most of their movements are fine, but when you get the big ones, that's rough.
Yeah.
We have explored giant swords in the past, but one of the primary things that we looked at in past videos was if you had the superhuman strength to use them and could compensate for the weight and then get just as fast, which is why the test when we did the foam giant swords was relevant for that analysis. This video is, could you make a functional giant sword in the real world with normal human strength?
Yeah.
And with this test piece and things that we've discovered in our tests, some of my assumptions have been subverted. This, unfortunately, has too many drawbacks. There's some benefits, don't get me wrong, but they do not compensate for the weaknesses that you get when trying to use it.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I came to in mind. However, there was the glimmer of hope at the end is that I think there's enough here to work with.
Yeah,
I think this can be modified to be something really cool.
Because if you could fix the weight and speed issues and recovery, then there's something here, because the power in just being able to blast through someone's guard, that's significant. Now, interesting, like the overhead swinging thing, that was a big revelation to me because that's such a common great giant sword attack.
I've always thought that. I've never got why people think that that's a valid attack.
It looks so cool and it's so powerful. But it's everywhere in video games. And like, I think of Monster Hunter, their giant one where they literally like get knocked out. But you're right, the recovery is the issue, right? My question is, would you still be willing to do it if you saw someone trying to static block it and you knew that you were just going to blast through that block?
Probably not.
I
Because
might.
the danger too much is that
If they did, all they need to do is push it aside.
a downward strike is just too easy to parry, especially with something like this. This is slower and heavier, and they don't have to do any work. They just need to knock it offline, and they're good.
Yeah. The only caveat, but I think this is too big, if you could do a downwards reverse edge strike that you could then keep swinging.
Good luck. Yeah, good luck. Because that's why I think that when you do some montante with this, that is the most realistic way. More horizontal, kind of, if they kill that momentum, they have to take a huge risk, and maybe you can do something rather than just burying it straight into the ground.
But guys, what do you think? Let us know in the comments below. And we've explored giant swords before in a lot of fun different ways. Why don't you check us out? Testing them in combat with foam versions, that is the caveat. If you had the superhuman strength to wield them, there's some cool stuff. Because if you had the strength to compensate for the weight, then these are insane. They're just, you can check out the video. Right
Still think a spear's better.
I would take you. If I had the superhuman strength, I would take you on with a giant sword.
I'd still use a spear.
I think I'd
fear the spear.